Low tiers, not just in Smash, but in any fighting game, can be pretty bad. For Melee specifically, low tiers are known for being significantly worse than the top tier characters, as a lot of them have crippling weaknesses and bad matchups, lackluster tools that make them hard for them to compete in Melee's competitive meta. I've stated in the past that Melee mid tiers would be the equivalent to modern day low tiers in fighting games. Well, Melee's low tiers are a step below them, so it really goes to show how worse they are than the rest of the pack. Some of them have incomplete moves, weak attacks, terrible range. You get it. Now, I'm not a crazy person. I'm not gonna say, hey, it's possible for any of these characters to win a super major. I mean, it would be really cool, but I don't see it happening anytime soon because it's already really hard for them to win just matches in general, let alone a tournament on any level. However, I will say some of them are better than others, and I think it's actually possible for maybe a couple of them to increase their placement on a tier list. This would be a very slight change, maybe by a couple spots, or maybe they're cursed to always being a low tier. This is simply just a weather forecast by yours truly, Honest Content. The possibility of these characters changing their placement on the tier list really depends on who's playing the character and really just anything. So this is simply just predicting the future of what could possibly happen in Melee's meta. I don't think any of these characters are going to be a top level character anytime soon, but it would be nice to dream. Mewtwo is the very first low tier character. Starting with his negatives, he's somewhat laggy, floaty. He also is surprisingly lightweight. He's a large character, and it makes him easy to combo and camp with projectiles more specifically. He has an infamous tail hurt box that makes him easy to poke, combo, and you can tell that they were potentially trying to make him a glass cannon, but his moves aren't beefy enough in this iteration of the character to make him compete with the top tiers. Being a floaty, lightweight character is not necessarily a bad thing on paper, you just need the power to back it up. However, Mewtwo isn't Jigglypuff. He doesn't have consistent KO options, and the ones he does have are kind of more matchup specific. He has some interesting positives here and there, like a small niche against the fast faller characters because he can up throw chain grab them, and his aerials are actually kind of decent. Despite Mewtwo's flaws, he actually has a decent combo game and some competent aerials, good throws. If Mewtwo didn't have so many flaws, maybe if he had more consistent KO setups on floaty characters especially, I think Mewtwo would actually be a very solid glass cannon character in Melee's meta, but he's kind of cursed with just being a low tier because of his flaws. However, I will give him this. I think it's possible for Mewtwo to go up by maybe a couple spots higher to be in a mid tier, but I don't think he's a hidden top tier or anything. Roy in Melee is a very interesting character, and I'm not just saying that. Some people legitimately think he can actually get out of being a low tier. Other people think his flaws are just gonna doom him to always being a low tier. I will say this, at my very first Melee tournament I ever went to, I went 0-2 and I played Roy. And then I immediately dropped him and switched to Marth, as most people probably do. His DNA is actually very similar to Marth's, as he can chain grab spacies with his up throw. And he has some similar moves to Marth's that can be used for the same utility. However, it's pretty widely known that Roy is kind of a meme character because Marth is just leagues better than him. Marth has the better recovery, range, punish game, combo game. Because Roy's sword has more sour spots than Marth's and he doesn't have a tipper hitbox, it means he can't really do that many things in neutral that Marth can do. His dash attack is a complete joke move, as we've all seen this, I'm sure. Also, he gets comboed harder than Marth because he's a fast faller, and this means there's going to be some higher tiered matchups that are really hard for him to beat. He has a pretty mediocre recovery because of this as well, and I find that Roy just doesn't have what it takes to go win a major or anything like that. He has a lot of problem matchups, like the floaties, for example, who will just shut him down for his lack of tools against them. I will give Roy some pointers though. He does have some weird quirks, and his down tilt is actually a decent combo tool because it pops opponents up instead of poking them away like Marth's would, but they're both good down tilts. If there was a Roy Renaissance, I think Roy could possibly be a mid tier on his best days, but again, people would have to put a lot of work into his character because I think Roy is not easy to pick up and play at all. It's really hard. There's a reason why there's so few Roy maids. Pichu is one of the few characters on here that people have tried pushing for years. And don't get me wrong, Pichu actually could have been way better. Pichu actually has the fastest jump squat in the game, being a 3-frame jump squat, sharing it with Fox, which means Pichu is really fast at getting off the ground, which is going to help with their aerial combos and approaching. Pichu has the ability to go low profile, which also means they can crouch under characters' grabs and punish them. Speaking of punishing them, Pichu actually has an incredible gnar, which is their main tool in their kit because it comes out so quick and it's actually a beefy attack. It's one of the few moves legitimately better than Pikachu's in a way. However, Pichu's entire moveset has a lot of flaws. First of all, Pichu is a clone of Pikachu, which means they share a lot of the same flaws. Grab range being not good whatsoever, which means Pichu's grabs are more riskier to do because of these smaller grab box, and it means Pichu has to get really close to the opponent in order to get grab confirms. The real reason why Pichu is so much worse than Pikachu is Pichu's weight is actually the lightest in the game. And this is not a good flaw to have at all, and it makes you die at extremely early percentages, especially if you're on stages like Yoshi's Story. Also, if you combine this with Pichu's recoil, this means you're going to be limited to moves that don't deal electricity, which is a really weird flaw to have. I think Pichu is a low tier for a reason and is probably going to be cursed to being bad, as the character was truly designed to be a joke character in Melee. Pichu just has a lot of things working against him, unfortunately. This version of Ness is actually terrible. For some reason, a lot of his moves have very little range at all, have too much startup lag and end lag. In a lot of Smash games, people like to complain about PK Fire. It's mean done in every Smash game because it's so good at setting up into Ness's grab game and combo game. However, in this game, it's not good at all. It's way too risky to actually use, and the reward that you get for using it is not that good either. His up special has to be one of the worst recovery options in the game, not only because it's so hard to use, but you can easily just jump on the Thunder Jolt to edgeguard Ness. Or, you know, the correct option, which is not edgeguard Ness at all and just wait for him to mess up, because that's more likely to happen. It's so hard to control up special in this game and easy to hit walls, it's not even funny. The only rewarding aspect of this move is the fact that if you actually hit somebody with it, you can deal a lot of damage, but it's really not worth the risk. Down special only absorbs energy projectiles, which is really lame from a utility standpoint, and it doesn't even come out that fast at all or have a hitbox like Fox or Falco's Shine does. But it really goes to show how they really didn't know what they were doing with the character in Melee. His moves lack so much range. There's plenty of matchups where he's just gonna get destroyed by characters like Marth and Sheik, and it's almost damn near impossible for him to combo certain characters. But even his own smash attacks aren't even that strong and lack consistent utility because of their lack of power and range, leaving Ness with one of the worst movesets in the game, in my opinion. I've tried to play this character in Melee because I love Ness, I love playing the character, but even I can't lie, he's really bad. Sorry, Ness. Zelda is a low tier character. Her main flaw being her extreme amounts of end lag on her attacks. This was intentional because they were designing Zelda to be the opposite of Sheik, who's the faster, more combo-centric character. It's ironic though that Sheik is stronger than Zelda too in a lot of ways and has a better moveset, but that's besides the point. Terrible options out of her shield. She has some of the laggiest attacks in the game. Also, look no further at her Din's Fire, as yes, you can easily die while using this move off stage. I don't know why you would. She's essentially a really bad character. People just say Lamal, just play Sheik instead and call it a day. Outside of her down special, the rest of her specials are terrible and get niche usage. When Sheik needs to use Zelda's up special to get back on stage, that's pretty much the only time you'll see Zelda a lot of times in a match. However, out of all the low tiers in this video, I think the character has some minimal potential to go up a couple spots higher. Yes, I know, I've dunked on Zelda in the past, but hear me out. I don't think Zelda is winning a major or anything like that anytime soon, but I think Zelda is a really hard character to consistently kill at times because of her floatiness and decent amount of aerial drift. I feel like if someone really wanted to just go to low tier tournaments and play a really lame defensive version of Zelda and rely on spacing and just trying to hit forward air and back air the whole time, maybe Zelda could go up. I don't know if Zelda could potentially be a mid tier, but maybe Zelda could be on the higher end of the low tier. If someone just wants to stomach all of Zelda's flaws, just rely on strictly the positives, maybe Zelda could have a chance to go up a couple spots. But again, that's me theory crafting here. There could be potential to go up a spot or two. All right, we got some good ones for these last two. It's time to dunk on some low tiers. I'm definitely split on which one of these characters is worse than the other. I'll leave it up to you guys. But to me, Kirby is really awful. This is a heavily nerfed version of Smash 64 Kirby, and I'm only saying that to explain why Kirby is so bad in this game. Kirby is essentially a poor man's Jigglypuff, but Puff is just leaps and bounds the better character because of the higher amounts of KO power, range, recovery. Kirby's throws are known for not being able to work consistently for a majority of the time. You can mash out of them really easily and they do nothing. And then you can just punish Kirby for even trying to hit you, which is low-key kind of hilarious. Kirby does become more fun in the Falco matchup, where obviously you get to use Falco's lasers and become a gangster. There is some good qualities to Kirby, but there's just way too many bad qualities that really just overlap anything that the character is trying to do. And I don't really see Kirby going up anytime soon, but I guess you never know. Here we are, the lowest point of Melee's tier list. And here's the thing, we all know Bowser is awful. I don't think Bowser is ever going to win a major anytime soon. As much as I would love to see that happen, I think he's honestly doomed to being a low tier. He has the worst jump squat in the game, his moves are laggy, he's big so he gets camped and comboed really hard. He's got one of the worst matchup spreads in all of Melee because of all these faults put together. However, I will give Bowser this. He does have up B out of shield, which is a surprisingly good grounded tool. He has a good get up attack at ledge when he's under 100%. His moves may be laggy and sluggish, but at least he has KO power. There's some characters that wish to have Bowser's KO ability. His up air is actually a strong up air and shouldn't be underestimated. And he has options near the ledge that do actually wonders against certain characters. If Bowser's on Yoshi's story, he takes up a lot of space, and sure, that makes him easier to combo, but he also gets the benefit of having the close cornered environment and being able to scrap with characters. I personally think these positives put together make him better than Kirby, but I don't think he's getting out of the low tier anytime soon, unfortunately. It would be nice to see though, I won't lie. Thank you guys for watching the video. There's a Patreon down below. You guys can watch videos early. My newest album is on Spotify. It's called Sapphire by Zach Honest. If you stream it, seriously, thank you. It means a lot. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Take care. Peace.